War for the Planet of the Apes, a movie that means a lot to me because, much like the film, I have an internal struggle of the monkey side of me and the human side of me. This film spoke deeply to me. Hello, everybody. I am Mumkey Jones, and I am joined by my good friend, Erich.
Apes! Together! Strong!
Strong apes! What's a Caesar thing? I got a good Caesar impression I want to hit you with. What should I say?
I know he says no a lot.
I am not Cuba.
Yeah.
What's his name? Koba?
Koba. Yeah.
I am not Koba. That's me doing Andy Serkis doing a circus animal.
Yeah, man. Fucking Andy Serkis in this movie should win the Best Actor
I
Oscar.
think he should have won for Don. This one, I'm not so sure, but Don, that's going to be the theme of this episode for me, is comparing this film to Don and why I think Don is the superior film. And I'm guessing you probably feel the opposite way.
Oh, wait. No. I mean, yeah, definitely. I think that Andy Serkis, as the movies have gone on, they've focused more on the performances and making sure that, like, the motion capture is most of the movie. And so because of that, I feel like we've gotten more of Andy Serkis in this movie than we've gotten in either Dawn or Rise, which is pretty amazing. But yeah, absolutely.
So my question to you then is, which film do you think is superior overall?
It's
War
hard.
Or Dawn?
This is hard.
It's not hard for me at all.
Okay. Like, right now, I'm definitely saying Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, good. You recognized recency bias and you say, you know what? I'm not going to let that infect my brain today.
Yeah. However, I do need to, like, see this one again and kind of, like, ruminate on everything I did. Because, like, there are parts that I just read about on the internet that I didn't even notice in the movie that are just so fucking deep and so kind of just essential to the movie. Yeah.
Oh, shit. I didn't realize there was hidden depth, and that was one of my main concerns with this film, is that when I compare it to Dawn, first of all, let's talk about the trilogy for a second. This is one of my favorite recent sci-fi trilogies, in that it's probably the only recent sci-fi trilogy, but I guess there's like Star Trek, but I really love these Apes movies, especially the second one, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And what's interesting is that all three films feel like very different movies. The first one is like, a breakout, Contagion sort of movie. Like it's more lighthearted and nice because it's like just like a silly monkey growing up with James Franco, and then it has a turn for the worse at the end, thanks to Malfoy being an asshole. Is that what happened?
Yes, just humans at their worst, kind of corrupting apes into being more violent, more just wanting to break out. But yeah, you're right. The first one is kind of like, it kind of has to be more human centric because it starts without a major ape population, and kind of you see Caesar grow up and grow into kind of a leader in that movie, but there's so much focus on humans and human concerns, and it transitions into more of what the series kind of like hangs its hat on and kind of makes the best of what it is about. But it's kind of the starting point. It's the natural opening chapter in this. So yeah, it's really good. I tend to look down on Rise a little bit more, and I wouldn't say it's as good as Dawn, but it is.
I wouldn't say it's
really
as good as these other two movies. I'd say it's the lowest of the three, but they're still all three really good.
Yeah, it's still really, really fucking good, and a major surprise when I saw it whenever it came out in fucking 2009 or whatever, because I went in thinking fucking Planet of the Apes, like what are they doing?
I think it was 2011.
Okay, 2011. Okay.
So then the second one, Dawn, it's like a completely different genre for the most part.
Yeah.
It's like this story with themes of trust and loyalty, and can two very different communities be separate but equal? Can they come together? Can they mix? All these things of it's a deep-seated drama about humans and apes trying to be friends.
Yes,
then you come. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. It's like it becomes a deep-seated like political thriller where you've got factions fighting for power within this very new society, and kind of a leader trying to strip away the worst of humanity from this new group, while also kind of developing and trying to shepherd them into safety. It's so fucking great. And then War.
When I think of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, it reminds me of that line at the beginning of, I think, Star Wars Episode 1, or maybe it was 2, where it says, there are heroes on both sides, and I always thought, now how is that even possible? But Don proves that it is, because there are heroes and villains on both sides of a... I'm gonna go deeper into that later to justify why I think Dawn is deeper than War. But then, of course, War it's like a straight up revenge action film with also more war sequences. But then Dawn ends with a great war sequence as well.
But like War is also like a prison escape movie as well, which
yeah,
is some of my favorite.
Literally Ape Escape.
Yes, it's Ape Escape. This is the dark Ape Escape reboot movie we need.
War for the planet of the Ape Escape.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
And yeah, so that's all three movies in the trilogy are about the same characters and the same ideas, but they feel like almost different genres at times, and I do appreciate that because the movies don't get stale.
Throughout the movies, the genres tend to change and the human characters change. Like we have a solid
movie to movie, for sure.
Apes cast of characters that we basically track throughout the three movies, but the human characters come and go, which is a really interesting way to do this. And I mean, do you think the franchise would be improved if James Franco was still hanging around, or
no? There'd be no reason for it.
Yeah. No, but they do some interesting things with the human characters, even in this movie, where you've got some humans that are more like apes, and you've got some humans that are becoming less civilized as they go. I guess we'll get into that, but yeah, there are some great things.
Real quick, I want to address a review. I know this might seem weird to talk about in our War episode, but I want to talk about a review of Dawn that I recently saw again. Are you a fan of Adam Johnson at Your Movie Sucks?
No, I've never heard of him.
Okay, well, he does some great stuff. He does what Plinkett does, but Plinkett doesn't do it anymore. Where like he'll do like these big grand reviews, but he also does mini reviews. And when Dawn came out, he did a mini review of it, and he pretty much just like shit on the movie for 14 minutes. And I just wanted to point out some of the dumb things he said because it really pissed me off. Like he said, "Oh, you guys are just gonna call me out for nitpicking, and that's why I couldn't enjoy the movie." But every single thing he says is like a nitpick. So he's just like trying to defend himself by saying what we're gonna say before we do.
Yeah, nice strategy.
What's funny is that Adam is. I love his videos, but this one in particular was retarded. Adam is famous for being like a huge furry, and he's always posting about how he wants to have sex with dogs and stuff. And this isn't. This isn't blasphemous. You can go check his Reddit page. He posts this shit all the time.
Oh, shit.
So I thought it was really funny that one of his main critiques was that the apes didn't have genitals.
Oh my god.
It's like, of course, that's the furry's biggest problem with the film.
Yes.
But I'll say, and the reason why I want to compare War to Dawn in my review is because that's what's so important to me, is that I feel like Dawn is a much deeper and more complex movie with more complicated moving parts and themes, whereas War, I feel like it's not very deep. Like, what do we learn from War? War is hell. Internment camps are bad. Okay, yeah, I could have got that. Whereas in Dawn, it's like this idea of, maybe conservatives and liberals, they don't have to be opposite sides of the coin. Maybe there really are just a few loud individuals in each group who are making the other group look bad. Maybe we should come together on what what we have in common, and realize that we have all these things in common, and not just fucking hate the other group because of one Koba or one retard who shoots a monkey in the woods. Like I feel like there's so many more things to learn from that movie and things to think about, whereas War, based on my first impression, I was like, okay, well, I don't really see a whole lot going on here. It's more of just like an action movie with like weird cartoon scenes of apes crawling on wires above fucking soldiers, and they somehow don't notice and all this. Like, come on, okay. This is not as deep and meaningful to me.
Okay, here's where I'll really try to defend War and just try to point out where it's really deep.
Yeah,
whereas,
and this isn't to say I don't like it, of course.
I
just don't think it's as deep, but I love the movie.
Whereas the conflict and kind of the main thrust of the problem between the characters in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was between Koba and Caesar, and kind of how do you lead your people, and like kind of what is the best way for this group to survive. War takes it internal, and it becomes, and even though Koba does show up, he is still a part of Caesar's psyche, So my favorite movies, my favorite kind of sequels are where you take the characters that you know and you love and you push them to their extremes. You say, what is the breaking point for these people when you throw them up against the wall and see where their loyalties lie, see where, like, what they will do when they're under pressure. And this movie does that perfectly with Caesar, where when Caesar is pushed to the hardest extent that he can be pushed, where, spoilers for this movie, his family...
Uh-oh.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I mean...
I just wanted to pull an Elliot Kalin and say, uh-oh.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
When his family... When his family is terribly murdered in front of him, does he become more like Koba? Or does he pull back and show some contrition or show some forgiveness? And so they play that in with the disease that's kind of wrecking humanity. But that basic line that not Koba, fucking Caesar has to straddle in this movie makes the conflict so important for Caesar to play out. And so in Dawn, you can kind of resolve that in a big battle between Koba and Caesar. You can't do that in this movie, and the big battle is kind of secondary to the internal struggle that Caesar is facing, where he eventually chooses not to seek that revenge. He does seek it, and actually in seeking it, that's what undoes him. But he doesn't actually pull the trigger in that moment. So... yeah, I think
I really like the character arc of Caesar across all the movies, and in this movie it was perhaps more interesting than the other ones. I think just my issue with it was, like, in the second movie, these questions and themes are on a grand scale of, like, all these societies. In this one, it is really internal within the main character, which I love a character-driven story. Breaking Bad is pretty much just like watching Walter White do the same thing, and I fucking love that. So, yeah, I mean... I'm not going to knock the movie for all the things you just said, because I agree, like, that stuff is very interesting in the film. So I guess just on a personal level, I prefer, like, the big, society level conflicts.
Well, but, like, even just within this movie, I think it makes some interesting points just about, from the Colonel's point of view, he, like, explains out why he believes what he believes. It's not entirely, like, unjustifiable. You can see from his point of view why he would hold these beliefs, and, like, with this huge existential dread of the entire human race coming to an end, like, why you would make
that's what I like
decisions.
about these movies. Is
exactly. There are no bad
guys. I feel like there aren't any, like, actual straight-up villains. Like, even Koba, everything that every character does is justifiable to them, and I can see their point of view. Like, Koba, of course he hates and distrusts the humans. He has huge scars on his fucking eye because they experimented on him in a laboratory. Of course he's gonna hate them.
Koba did nothing wrong.
No, I don't think any character really... I mean, okay, maybe... I think True Detective in this movie might have gone too far in a few places, to quote George Lucas. So, but in general in these films, I think characters are justified in their actions. Like Commissioner Gordon in the second one.
Yeah.
Like, I understood everything he was doing. But yeah, True Detective in this one, Woody Harrelson, if you don't know who True Detective is. He sometimes it felt like he was justified, and, like, his speech made a lot of sense, but sometimes he was like, okay, you're just being overly cruel for reasons to make the character hate you more, so that we want Caesar to kill you, but I don't really see why the character is doing it.
I mean, when he's executing apes or whatever, that's no different than, like, Koba doing the same thing. And, like, he can kind of draw a difference between the people who are infected by this disease. So he explains that his son was infected by this disease that leaves you... I was never quite sure whether it lowered your intelligence at all, or whether it was just you can't speak.
Well, isn't in the original Planet of the Apes, all the apes are intelligent and the humans are, like...
Humans are dumb, yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is just, like, explaining how we get to that point.
Okay. So, like, basically, by stripping the humanity of those people and saying they're nonverbal now, they can't communicate well enough, and, like, just basically separating the wheat from the chaff and just destroying them, he can say that it's us versus them. Anyone who's inflicted by this disease, we'll just execute, or we'll string them up, or whatever the fuck. Like, you can kind of see his point there. Whereas Koba in the second one, he was much more, I think, wildly terrible to his own people, to traders, to whoever. I mean, there's that scene where he throws the one ape who's Rocket's friend, or Caesar's son's friend. I can't remember.
He throws it from the balcony because he
Yeah,
didn't kill a human.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that is kind of as vicious as you can get, and I'm not sure if the Colonel in this movie has a scene quite as bad as that.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. I think I just expected something else, and I'm disappointed that the movie felt more cartoony and focused on action to me.
Okay, it's weird because the first movie, I feel like between the first movie and the second movie, there is such an evolution of character depth and what they want to portray, so that from the first one to the second one, I was just amazed by like the shot up in quality. It went from like an 8 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. And so there is not the same, like, this is not somehow a magical 12 out of 10 movie. To me, it's still a 10 out of 10. So, like, I feel like that natural kind of disappointment that it didn't outdo itself even more is kind of natural. Like, I can't recapture that huge magnitude jump between Rise and Dawn, from Dawn to War. But
that makes a lot of sense, actually. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But I just think this... It says it's War for the Planet of the Apes, and the posters and the fucking... everything that advertised for this movie has, like, a huge army of humans versus a huge army of apes. That's...
never happens.
That never happens in this movie, and I kind of like this movie for doing that. I'm kind of pissed that the marketing, like, did that kind of thing, that
they gotta
brought
get
you in
those
with
fucking...
expectations.
They gotta get those, inbred retards into the seats and then try to give them, like, a smarter movie than what they were advertised. So I'm okay with the false advertising.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what this movie really focuses in on is how does war affect people? Basically, like, we don't get huge, like, battlefield scenes of, like, I mean, we kind of get that at the very end, but it ends up being humans versus humans. It's not necessarily apes versus humans. It's how do people survive in war-like conditions. And I think it's amazing that any movie can examine that, and there have been plenty of movies that examine that. But the fact that this movie is about talking apes in some way, and then telling a war story with those characters, and the characters just deliver in, like, full stripes. I feel like Maurice in this movie, Luke, when fucking Luca died, Rocket, like, I was afraid for these characters because I knew the heightened stakes of this movie put them in a lot of trouble, because it starts with his wife and son dying. So,
yeah,
like,
clearly the film was not afraid to kill off any characters, as we see in the film.
Yes, and I also want to shout
Anybody
out there's a new
can
character.
and will die.
Yes, absolutely. There's a new character, Bad Ape, I believe. I think
I wanted to bring that up because I was going to introduce it by saying, here's a character I can relate to, a retarded monkey.
Played by Steve Zahn, I believe.
Steve Zahn,
Yes.
my hero from Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
And fucking, like, it's amazing to me that they can introduce this character who would feel strange in this very, like, focused, gritty, driven movie, because he's
Almost
kind of the
felt
comic
like a Jar Jar
relief.
Binks for a second there, but then he gets better.
But he fucking works. Like,
Yeah.
he talks more than many of the other apes, but he doesn't have, like, a nuanced vocabulary like Caesar does. He kind of has just very basic words he uses, but he talks a lot. So, like, I just think it's an amazing introduction for this character to come in, provide some levity, but also provide enough information so that he's useful, unlike fucking Jar Jar Binks. So, like, yeah.
Did you
just
like
great.
Bad Ape's comedy, though? Because he never made me laugh, but I wasn't bothered by it.
Yeah, I think he made me laugh a couple times.
Like, I didn't really think it was funny, but I was like, okay, I guess that fits the character. As long as the comedy fits the character, I'm not going to be bothered by it.
Yeah, and then I guess you've got the other new character, I guess, is the little girl. I guess her name would be Nova, since...
Yeah, that's the other character I related to, an autistic human. Both sides of my personality were represented in this film.
A young girl who doesn't talk?
Yeah, an autistic human and a retarded ape. They were best friends in the film.
Yeah, but just that this movie can forge these new relationships almost without words at all, and just do it with the depth and the fact that it's not actual people. It's people with CGI dots on their faces interacting with people sometimes. And, like, it's entirely engrossing. I feel like the digital effects, of course, because digital effects have gotten better and better as these movies went on. At times, Dawn really fooled me, and I thought that these were 100% actual apes. Most of the time in War, I am fooled. I am completely thinking that this could be a real ape. It's amazing how much
I
they've
think
done.
the orangutan looks the most real to me.
Yes.
Like I can't imagine. Like I feel like that's an actual orangutan. The gorillas also look pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, just like the normal Caesar-esque apes, I'm still like, oh, yeah, that's kind of uncanny valley for me. I can kind of tell.
Yeah.
But, like, man, that orangutan is fucking perfect.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's kind of the orangutan doesn't have a lot of facial movement. Its eyes it really focuses on, and its eyes are super small, which is interesting because usually when you create a character that you want to impart a lot of emotion for, you make their eyes huge.
Like
And-
Avatar.
Yes, exactly, like Avatar. So these monkeys usually don't have huge eyes, and it's amazing how much emotionality they get out of them. But yeah, I think just Caesar's fucking great in this movie. This movie bothers to feature close-up a lot for these CGI characters. I don't remember, I just watched Dawn the other day, so I should know this. But it probably does have a decent amount of close-ups, but I feel like this new movie does it even more. Like, they are not afraid to put on full display what they have with the acting talent for Andy Serkis and whoever else characterizes these apes.
Yeah, I think they need to start considering motion capture for, like, major awards.
Yeah.
But I wish they would have done it for Don, because this one, like, I mean, he did good. Maybe I need to watch it again, but I don't think this was, like, an Oscar-worthy performance from Andy Serkis.
There was more silent scenes, and I mean, these movies have plenty of silent scenes. In this movie, there were more silent scenes where they just showed you Andy Serkis acting as Caesar without having to talk, without having to interact with others, but more just him working through emotion on screen than in any other movies, which for like actor Oscar quality type stuff is exactly what they're kind of looking for. They should either create a new category that kind of entirely features Andy Serkis every year for the rest of time.
Just give him the Andy Serkis Award.
Yes, or start including him in Best Actor, because he's been done too much good work repeatedly in this kind of genre of acting for them to just ignore it as they've been.
So do you think next year for the Oscars Andy Serkis is going to win for Caesar or win for Snoke?
He will not win for Snoke.
I mean, it's just him in the category, so it's got to be one of them.
Yeah. Andy Serkis as Caesar. Andy Serkis
And the Andy
as
Serkis
Snoke.
Award for Best Andy Serkis Performance. The nominees are Andy Serkis in War for the Planet of the Apes.
And the
Andy
winner
Serkis
is...
in Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. And the winner is Andy Serkis in the fucking Avengers? He wasn't even a capture performance. What the fuck? That was just him.
Well, that's what they'll do. They'll realize that Andy Serkis's wheelhouse is motion capture, so they'll put dots on his face and then just animate Andy Serkis's face.
Animate Andy Serkis over him.
It looks so real.
So stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one other thing I wanted to mention about this movie. I just want to call out cuck reviewers all day. There's this fucking cuck who wanted to compare Woody Harrelson's character to Donald Trump in a negative light, saying,
What?
oh, he's like this authoritarian leader who blah, 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 and he wants to build a wall. And I'm thinking, nigga, that wall that Woody Harrelson wanted to build was completely justified and useful, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, I don't see any kind of comparison there.
No, stupid.
Jesus.
Fucking cucks everywhere. That's pretty much all I have to say. I would recommend the movie. What do you got, Erich?
Absolutely. Like, for me, this will be the best blockbuster of the year. It's miles above anything else in the theaters right now, and, like, for me, it's better than Logan, better than most of the...
Oh,
what
better
we
than
call...
Logan, even. Wow.
Hell yeah. Just better than most movies that come out in theaters, period.
Better than Wonder Woman, Erich. Are you going to be sexist?
Yes, I will be.
Wow, problematic over here.
Yeah, but these these Planet of the Apes movies in general, Dawn especially, War especially, they prove what the best of blockbuster genre filmmaking can be. When you give someone a huge budget and you deliver something like anything else, like Spider-Man or like Wonder Woman, I'm pretty happy with that. But when you deliver something like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or War of the Planet of the Apes, or even fucking Rise of the Planet of the Apes, you are committing to a higher notion of what the technology can do, of what storytelling can do, of what movies can be, and how movies can capture and spread empathy towards people, and even just non-people. These fucking apes convey more emotion and character than most fucking humans do in most movies. So these are some of the best movies ever made. I think this is probably one of the best trilogy that's ever been made. I think I put it up there with Lord of the Rings in terms of quality, like where it only gets better and it can only kind of stay plateaued at the best fucking thing ever from Dawn to Rise. So yeah, absolutely go see it. Please support this movie. It deserves all the box office in the world. So that I'm not sure if they'll make any more because of how this ends. They could. They've got
I think they will. But real quick before I say why I think they will, I think, in my opinion, one of the most important parts of the sci-fi genre is to make people think about like these ideas through the use of the sci-fi elements.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of been lost. Like the last couple Star Trek movies, did you have any deep philosophical thoughts after you walked out of the theater about any of it?
There was some shit in the background of Star Trek Beyond, but like not much. Like yeah, you're right.
Like Children of Men did it really well, and I think these Apes movies are like a renaissance for the thinking man's sci-fi. And you think, oh, it's a fucking monkey movie. Well, what are you thinking about, you retard? Well, like, what else do I have to think about? What other movie has me walking out of the theater thinking, was Woody Harrelson right? And did he? What the? You know. So I praise them for that. To a return to sci-fi that you don't just walk out of the theater and go, oh, I wonder what I'll see next. And why I think there's going to be another one is because, number one, they announced that they're working on the next one.
Okay.
And two, I think all these characters will be abandoned, and the next one is just going to be, it's just going to be Planet of the Apes, and it's going to like jump forward 100 years to where humans are all retarded and all the apes are like controlling the world.
I want a Cornelius movie where Maurice tells Cornelius about how great Caesar was, and
he can just show him the DVDs. We don't need to. I already know what happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, great fucking movie.
Yeah, go see this instead of what else is fucking playing? Girls' Night Out or some shit.
The Big Sick, The Beguiled. What the fuck is Girls' Night Out?
I don't know. I was making shit up.
Fuck.
I do want to see The Big Sick, and I heard that The Beguiled has that one actor I really like. Colin Farrell having sex with like young children, so it sounds great.
That's right up your alley.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see that one right now.
Oh, nice. Okay, so before we go, I would like to plug something.
Are you gonna say another shitty movie that you love?
No. I might do that later, though.
God damn it.
Okay, so if you enjoy me talking about random shit, I have a podcast called Topic to Be Determined. Yeah, so if you want to look us up on iTunes, we're there. We've talked about the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, Mass Effect Andromeda. We had a good time shitting on that a little bit. And Star Wars quite a lot. But we'll be publishing more episodes of that as I get around to talking with my friend. But
what was it called?
Topic to Be Determined podcast.
Okay, yeah, everybody go check that shit out.
Yeah, man.
Clearly you don't have enough mumkey videos to watch because I'm only putting out 5 re-uploads a day. So
yeah,
go watch Erich.
In between watching all of Mumkey's videos again because he needs those fucking views again, the YouTube motherfuckers. Yeah. Listen to some me talking with my one friend.
Hey, it sounds like a good time. I didn't even know the show existed. Why didn't you tell me before? I could have been listening to this shit.
I'm very embarrassed.
Okay, before we go, what shitty movie are you gonna say that you like this time? You
I
said
feel
Amazing
like-
Spider-Man 2. You said
Yes.
Man of Steel. How are you going to embarrass yourself this time?
How can I embarrass myself again? Crank is pretty well liked, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I love Crank.
Yeah, Crank's fucking great, so I can't say Crank.
Yeah.
I think that's... I didn't fucking think of this beforehand.
Okay, well, maybe we can save it for next time. We're going a little long.
Yes, we went
Okay.
long on Apes. So.
Did you also like Amazing Spider-Man 1? Because that's also a pile of shit.
Yeah, I kind of like Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Oh, fuck you. Okay, everybody, see you next time. Who knows what we'll see? Probably another fucking tent-pole blockbuster. Bye.
Valerian. Bye!